Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's Fiber Broadband Association webinar. My name is David Norris. I'm the webinar producer here at Fiber Broadband Association. Before we begin, I do have some housekeeping items, but before we get into that, just want to introduce our topic today. It's exceeding expectations, winning with world-class customer service in your ISP. And this is being brought to us today by Sonar Software, and we also have panelists from 360 Broadband and Clearnetworx with us. We're excited about that. As I mentioned, we do have a couple of quick housekeeping items. First of all, as attendees, you are in listen-only mode today. That said, we encourage you to ask your questions. You can do so by typing them into the questions tool, which is located in the upper right of your screen. We will have time to take your questions near the end of today's presentation. And with that, just make sure you ask those questions. We will get to those. This will also be available on demand for you. That should be up on the FBA website within 24 to 48 hours, and you can find that under the Events tab in the Webinars option. And finally, we do have a brief feedback survey at the end of today's presentation. If you wouldn't mind taking a minute to do so, we really appreciate it. It helps us know that these are valuable for you, and just really appreciate your input. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to Georgette, who's going to get us started and introduce our panelists. So with that, Georgette, feel free to take it away.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, David. We're going to have a great time today. It's very much going to be a conversation amongst the three of us. Drew Beverage is with 360 Broadband, and they operate in Oklahoma and Texas. And Sara McCombs is in Colorado. And I've just had the privilege of working with both of them over the last several years, and I think this is going to be a fantastic day together. So without further ado, I'd really like to ask Drew, will you go ahead and introduce yourself, give our guests a little bit of information about where you're coming into this conversation from?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Georgette. I appreciate the opportunity to be on here with you. Fantastic. That's a new word I'm going to use today. My name is Drew Beverage. I'm the COO at 360 Broadband. I've been with them a little over 2 years. This is my 24th year in the industry, starting in dial-up to fixed wireless. And this topic definitely resonates with what we're doing over at 360. We are a fixed wireless company. We serve about 10,000 square miles and moving into the fiber broadband in the last 2 years. And so 10,000 miles of fixed wireless, and then we've got several thousand passings that we've been building out and really focused on providing high quality broadband throughout that territory. So excited to be part of it. We have offices in Leonard, Texas, in our Texas office there, Durant, Oklahoma, Southall, Oklahoma, and then in Oklahoma City. So I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. And Sara, why don't you fill in our guests on your background?
Sure. I'm Sara McCombs. I'm the Customer Engagement Director for Clearnetworx Fiber. We're based out of Montrose, Colorado, so on we call the West Slope side of the state near Utah. We actually have been in business for about 12 years now, but our sister company, Deeply Digital, has been in business for 22 years, and so that's our construction side of the company. I've been in the industry for about 14 years now, and 4 years of that have been here at Clearnetworx. And one of my favorite things about this topic that we're going to be talking about is just that customer experience and engaging our customers. I live and breathe it every single day. That's why my title is the Customer Engagement Director. And so I'm really excited to be here and be able to share with all of you. Clearnetworx has been building out most of the Western Slope and Southwestern side of the state with fiber broadband. We are also a fixed wireless business too, but we've been converting most of those to our fiber broadband. We just about a week ago passed over 10,000 active subscribers and with fiber service, and we continue to build out our service territory. So I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Georgette, and excited to chat with all of you.
And we're excited that we have so many people online. I want to make sure that you guys understand that we want you to be a part of this conversation as well. We've got some prompts and conversations that we want to take through the next 60 minutes or so. But if something pops in your head and you want to ask David or Drew or Sara to answer those questions, please drop those into the Q&A, and I will be keeping an eye on those. So tell me a little bit about what inspired your organization to focus on improving the customer experience in the ISP realm. What prompts you guys to keep this on the forefront of your business plan?
Drew, go
You want to
ahead.
start
You
on
go
that? Okay.
first. Yeah, go ahead.
We talk about this all the time. We follow the Traction entrepreneurial operating system, right? And so we ask ourselves all the time the why. If you ask Simon Sinek the why do you do it? What stands you out? And we believe truly that it's delivering excellent customer service always from the time you take a sales call to the time you're responding to billing, your installers are on site. That customer experience is what stands. It's the difference maker between anybody can sell internet. So that customer experience is what is the make or break point of us being successful. And so building that into our core values to determine that that's what we want to focus on. We want to build a team based around that. We want to hire, fire, and reward based on that experience, and really drive a culture of it. And so breaking it down from Traction all the way back to every level 10 meeting, talking about it, our NPS scores, our customer satisfaction, and seeing where that takes us. And so um, I think in the end, when we peel it all back, that's the determining factor for us, is if we're going to be successful. The pushing that experience is where it's going to end. So
That hire, fire, and reward concept, I think, is really important in the whole life cycle. When your staff know that customer experience is the center of your business plan, it really does drive their experience as part of your corporate culture as well. Sarah, how about you?
absolutely.
What is Clearnetworx really? How have you guys just really embraced this? Because I think y'all do a great job with your entire customer journey.
Well, I would have to jump on board with Drew that that the customer experience is the core of our business here, all the way down from the owner through everyone that comes in the door that works for us, whether it's our subcontractors or our in-house staff. The big thing we try to teach is just that in our the culture that we want to stand with integrity for one, and we want to be transparent with our customers. And so I think that all comes in line with that customer experience in general. And we do strive to have solid customer experience all the way through Google reviews to our interactions with customers out in the field, whether it's with our subcontractors or our construction team out on the street, putting in the main line to the house and to our installers, and then the techs and the billing here also, phone calls, things like that. So we definitely strive to just make it a positive thing, and not always is it, but we want to turn it around. And as I was talking before the webinar started with the team, is our tagline for Clearnetworx is a better internet experience. We want to stand out compared to all the other competitors out there. So we want to be able to give that better internet experience from start to finish. And
And
it's a
it's not like y'all are
continuation.
operating in a
Yeah.
silo. You've got competition. Drew, I think you told me earlier today, y'all have 26 different competitors in your markets.
Sure.
You have to stand out, and that differentiator is going to be that customer service experience, right? So what tools or processes are you guys using to detect and address issues before your customers notice? How can you get ahead of problems?
It's a good question. We talk about it all the time. Retention is key to that, right? And so, if you can save a customer, it costs 5 times less to retain that customer than to go find a new customer. We're using a pre-seam and actively going through that database to determine where slowdowns are happening if someone's hitting their max speeds. We also use Calyx systems and use all of their tools that we can, and proactively call those customers that could be experiencing slow speeds. Maybe they have a gig plan and their Ethernet is set at 100 meg and they're not capable of getting what they're paying for.
Mm.
And so we're proactively flagging that, tagging it, sending it to the customer team, and to proactively reach out, send emails, follow up. And we track that with KPIs to determine what was the potential saves that we did this month by proactively looking through it. But the pre-seam data has been very beneficial for us. So is that Calyx data, and we use a couple other tools, but that's the main ones.
Sir, how about you?
Yeah, we're also a Calix user. So one of our big things is we watch that same thing, the speeds. But the other thing that we really watch is even before the customer is fully set up is that retention on churn and making sure that relationship is solid when we're out there doing the construction on site too. And so being able to have that relationship already built. We have construction managers assigned to our different build areas that, let's say we hit accidentally somebody's sprinkler system and we have to go out and fix it. We have somebody that can actually go on site that's on staff to talk to that person and help fix that issue, help fix the sprinkler system. But just creating that relationship there also helps with that initial churn rate and keeping it low. I think the other thing too is when we have people churn off because they're moving out of the area or selling their home, offering a service, that service to the next person that may be coming in, or working with real estate agents or even the person selling the home, and just really focusing on churn. Churn's a big thing for us, and we try to find ways to keep those numbers low also.
Well, and it's so important to know what the churn is driven by. I can't
Yes.
retain a customer who's moving across the country, but we can retain a customer who, or we may be able to win back a customer who got whisked away by a shiny object or a promo that somebody else was giving. Go back to them 6 months or 12 months later and say, hey, we're still here and we'd love to have your business back. What are you doing for win backs? Um, what are some ways that you do track churn within your operational systems?
Well, I'll speak first, I guess. We actually have created within our Sonar application um, ways to what we call reason codes for disconnecting. And so we kind of track those when we create a ticket within the system to monitor that. But we also have staff on hand that, if we get a phone call in that somebody wants to cancel because, okay, maybe they're dissatisfied with their speed, we get them immediately over to our tech team and start troubleshooting and seeing that history on their account, whether or not we've done any troubleshooting yet, is super helpful. But we have in-house staff that will kind of take that phone call and see if we can save them and keep them from churning off. But we utilize the ticketing system within Sonar and have those codes created to be able to track that. And that's one of my duties, is to kind of watch those reason codes each week to see what's happening and why, and then evaluating the areas that it's being affected by, that we can improve our processes so we're not having people churn off. So
Yeah, you may have one customer say that they're leaving because their experience wasn't great, and that may be one off on one tower. But when all of a sudden you've got two or three customers that have churned off of a specific tower site, there may be something deeper down that needs to be, you got to get to the root
absolutely.
cause.
Yeah. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that's some of the things we can look at our service territory, or we have markets built within our system also. So if we're seeing people churning off in a market, then we can evaluate maybe why that's happening if there's more than, two or three.
Yep. Drew, how about you guys? How are
The
y'all
same thing
leveraging
on the
churn?
Sonar. As a Sonar customer, we have the reason codes in there, and as Sarah mentioned, the marketplaces, right? You verify. We have our traction meeting set up with retention every level 10 each week, and we go over that regionally through a map, and then determine, is it controllable or uncontrollable churn. How do we proactively save something if we missed it, and have that discussion, because our goal is to stay under 1% on churn rates of controllable. Obviously, like you mentioned, we can't control if they didn't pay or if they moved out of area, or if there's something outside our control. But the ones that we can, as Sarah mentioned, how do we get a postcard in their mailbox? If someone moved out, they might be coming in not from the area, not know that we're local, not know anything about us, and the first thing they're doing is hitting Google AdWords, and we're competing with a cost that we might not be able to afford, right? And so, how do they know that we're here? And so, hopefully, we have a postcard in their mailbox of someone that moved out. But verifying if they're, being proactive, if there's an area specific, maybe we get some NPS reports out there, find out what we're doing in that market. Um, but we definitely track KPIs to a T, and then review them weekly to make sure that we're not missing. It's one thing if we're behind the eight ball, but if we can stay stay focused on it, right? Whatever gets measured gets done in our view. So we want to make sure that's one that we're tracking constantly.
And I know even internally we're using measure what matters. What are the things that
Yeah.
are really going to propel your business forward? And I love
Mhm.
how Sarah talked about talking to real estate agents, partnering with people who are helping to fill those homes, fill those condos, fill those apartments, and making sure that they're aware that y'all are providing that resource in that area. Um,
Georgette, sorry, I
yes.
just wanted to add one thing too. We do a lot of fiber ready. So we work with property managers. For instance, we had a kind of a retirement community mobile home area here, and we actually worked with the property owner to make those homes fiber ready. So when they move in, the equipment's already set up. All they have to do, we leave a little leave behind sheet welcoming them to a Clearnetworx home, and they give us a call, and we basically just set them up with their own account with a username and password for the Wi-Fi, and they're surfing the internet. So we do a lot of fiber ready also, and
That's fantastic.
it's been helpful for that customer experience.
That is wonderful to hear. Having that equipment ready, being able to connect them. I know that several customers are starting to do e-commerce platforms on their website, so a human doesn't even actually have to intervene to get that customer set up, get their account set up, get their equipment provisioned, and they're on their way. And reducing those phone calls into the call center is a good thing. Drew, do you have anything that you want to share with that?
That's I think a lot of people, I think we had a conversation offline about this as far as people wanting to communicate with customer support in different ways, right? And so instead of
Mhm.
just normally wanting to take a phone call, some people would rather not have that human interaction. They would rather go to a website. They'd rather text you. They'd rather go on your web form. And if they could get service without speaking to a human, you're better off having that platform set up. And so we're using products like CrowdFiber, Actify, GoCare to better enhance our communications abilities. We're to give them an omni-channel and communicate with them the way they want to be communicated with. And with Sonar's API, we're able to tie a lot of that in and back to it. And so I think it's going to be a success for us moving forward. The way we communicate with our customers is changing, and so I think that's the one thing we'll have to change with, right?
Yeah.
It's a moving target, whether people are using SMS messaging, whether you have regulatory requirements that you can't send emails during these quiet hours. I think there's 9 states in the country that you can't send any financial emails out between certain hours of the day. So it's a moving target, whether it's social media or it's chat or it's text or it's e-commerce on your website. And how are we making sure that we're meeting our customers where they want to be, where they want to do their business? So, we always have to talk about outages and how we communicate outages to customers, because that is one of those things. And if it's on Facebook and you're covering, 10,000 miles, you don't want to say, "Oh, we've got a tower outage," because then people who are not impacted at all are going to be like, "Oh, my internet's going to be down." How are you focusing your communication to your customers when you do have outages or fiber cuts or things that are impacting their services?
So we built a tool in house that ties into our teams, ties into Sonar, and then we can send out notices through Sonar for our outages. And you're right. Nobody wants to have an outage. Nobody wants to participate, but the communication is what sets us aside. And we every time that we are doing maintenance, there will be a notice sent out. We do night maintenance to make sure we reduce those. But after and this time in this era, we do not have the luxury. Even at 2 o'clock in the morning, there are people online using the internet, and so we have around 16,000 subscribers across 3 states, and so there isn't a perfect opportunity to take them down or take them offline. But giving them plenty of notice, letting them know what's happening, and then what we've determined that we will always do is send an after action review with any outage that was unplanned. Now, sometimes it's not fun because you have to type in there that this was a human error, but we've always been
Yeah.
transparent on our outages, and we've really got positive response, like building that trust with the customer, saying, hey, this is how we're learning from this, and this is how we're moving forward. And so I think our NetOps team has done a fantastic job communicating when we do have outages and making sure maintenance is scheduled ahead of time, and then communicating that maintenance, that it was completed and what it was for. I guess it goes back to the why, right? Why are we doing this? Why did it happen? and this is what the end result is going to be, so that we can provide better quality, reliable internet moving forward.
Josh has a really great follow-up question to this. How do you handle short-term spikes in call volume related to outages?
That is a great question. Sarah, do you want to take
Go
it?
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we definitely try. We have a flow chart. As soon as an outage happens, we put something to the call tree. We definitely try to alert via email to whoever is available, and soon with the GoCare product, we'll be able to text them on that outage alert. But we're trying to reduce the amount of calls because that spike is hard. 16,000 customers. We have 16 total agents answering the call. So you can't that out of that 16 agents, there's 8 support, 2 billing, 6 sales, 1 QC agent, a retention specialist. Those 6 guys on the phone can't handle that. So proactively changing that to a response of putting in a phone log, sending out the messages, and then keeping the updates flowing. We do have a status page that we push everybody to. That way we can keep the status updates right off our website. But that is a challenge, is that call volume spike, and then everybody wanting to know why they didn't get answered in a timely manner.
Yeah, we have kind of the same thing happen. We only have probably 10 people at any given time available to answer the phones in our various locations. And the spikes, I mean, even myself and our billing coordinator jumps in and helps answer phones, because sometimes they just need a little extra hand because they're trying to explain. I think a lot of the times what we try to do is, one, we have a process too. So we have on Teams, we have an outage chat that we will drop. We're getting several calls and addresses, and our network ops start kind of investigating where those addresses are falling and try to figure out the issue initially. So those calls turn into, we are aware of a possible service issue. Our team is looking into it. And then we go from, okay, if it's more of we need to send a mass email out, then we're sending something out through Sonar and using those Sonar tools. And we have built kind of with our Sonar customers, we use account groups quite a bit. So a lot of times for us to be using the messaging through Sonar, we can even narrow it down to a network site. If we find out from net ops that it's a network site, that's one of my things I get to help with is those notifications even after hours, with our tech team lead also. Just being able to communicate to those customers. And like Drew said, we can't always be on top of it, and there is human error sometimes and things happen, but I think being transparent with customers off the get-go is most important. That we live in a farming community in Western Colorado, so we've literally had people drive through our fiber line with a tractor or a semi truck taking down, and it took down like a whole section of a town. And so to be able to, one, figure out how that happened and get that out to the customers is always tricky, but to do it in a timely manner too, and just explain to them, like, we have teams on site. Or I used to work for a power company here in Montrose, so I get it. Like, people want to know, and
They want to know.
And if you don't have eyes on it until they're out there actually seeing what happens, sometimes you can't tell them what they want to know. So I think we train our staff here to just give as much info as possible without giving away the bank too. But to be able to be transparent and just finding that balance and being able to be transparent enough that, like, we're aware of it and we're on it. So yeah.
We've got a question from.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
I
Drew.
was just saying, one of the things we definitely had to work on, and still fine tuning and practicing, is the consistency of the message. So we have that status page, and we want to make sure every 30 minutes it gets updated. So it helps reduce the spike. Also, is if we stay consistent with our flow chart and how our outages should flow, it helps our customers don't feel the anxiety of, well, I'm going to call every 5 minutes. They're going to have another update. This is how it's going to work, and then they'll give an after action review. So thanks, Georgette.
Awesome. We've got another great question in our Q&A, and it says, how often do you track NPS, Net Promoter Scores, in your respective organizations? Are y'all doing NPS surveys for post support calls, post installation, things like that?
We call for Clearnetworx, we have actually staff in-house that call installs every day. So it's basically we do a 2 week window. So she's calling people 2 weeks after they've been initially installed, just checking how their service is working. If she doesn't reach them on the phone, she's doing a follow-up email. So that is something in-house that we are doing. Another one of my teammates, he does watch the net promoter scores, and just kind of keeps an eye on that. But we're also I mentioned this earlier, we use Google reviews quite a bit too. So when my teammate is calling those customer follow-ups, she's encouraging them to go out and give us a review on Google. We're trying to be driven by that to just, have another avenue of customer satisfaction. And so we monitor the Google reviews quite often too.
Awesome. Drew, how about you guys?
We just started NPS scores last year. We sent out multiple throughout the year, but we are currently setting up GoCare. I like Sarah's idea. We do the follow up on the sales calls. That it actually works really well because you can catch right there after 2 weeks, catch the if anybody's like, hey, I thought I was going to do this, or hey, I thought I was going to. You can get those questions answered, and it's proactive on the retention side of it, right? You just had a customer touch point. I really like that, but. We have the GoCare product being launched now, and we're getting the NPS score, so that way we can track installation, customer support, and really dive down into the metrics of how did Drew do on that call? How did Georgette do when she came out and installed your internet? And that way we can get more granular into it. Obviously, just a text message. How was your installation? Would you recommend it to a friend? You can get $100 referral if you send that friend over to us. Things like that. We're excited to be able to have that into our tool belt to automate so that we can use our resources further, do more with less.
Drew,
Customer referral credits.
What's that program called again that you mentioned that you guys are?
It's GoCare.
GoCare. Okay.
Yeah.
We have some internal referral programs built in already, but same thing. When we do the phone calls, we're encouraging our customers to refer their neighbor and such. So, and they get a referral credit on their bill, plus the new person gets a referral credit. So,
And I'm seeing some customers do all kinds of interesting things with their invoice customization, where they're doing QR codes for customer referrals, or they're giving the link for the customer referrals. So really leveraging another piece of a PDF that's hitting an inbox to help drive more customer referral credits. So lots of opportunities there. Let's talk a little bit about your staff. So support teams face customer challenges daily. How do you guys train and motivate your staff to deal with that customer facing interaction and make sure that they don't take an upset customer personally, or they know exactly how to process that customer from start to finish?
There, you can go first.
Sure, why not? So we don't have really any formal training for our staff yet. It's one of the things that I've been wanting to do, and we've been growing. So when I started here 4 years ago, we had 65 employees, and we have grown to 260 employees in 4 years. And so obviously all of the customer facing type positions have some sort of training within their said group. So installers are going to get trained differently than maybe our customer service reps or techs up front. I think the biggest thing for me, since I've been more of the customer service and tech team support here in the office, is just teaching them one. I think Drew probably will mention this, but we were talking about it before, but learning that we don't always know what's happening on the other side of the phone.
Right.
But what we can do is be empathetic and listen to the concerns of the customer, and then figure out a way to solve that issue for the customer in the best way possible to create that better experience for the customer. It may not always be easy to sit there and listen to somebody chomping in your ear. But I've learned in all my years too of doing this, that they're not personally attacking you. It may sound that way, but they're not. And again, we just have to remember that other side of the phone, they may have just lost their job. They may have just had to call the power company and pay their bill, or maybe they had their sprinkler line hit and they have water spewing out, so
Yeah.
just being able to listen, get all the info, and then being able to find a solution as quickly as possible is really, really important. And that's one thing that I've tried to help the team here over the years, is just learning like how to do that and without letting it affect them. Some people do struggle with it, but you have to let them at the end of the day be able to just like release that after talking to somebody on the phone and be able to talk through it and then come up with a solution for the next time they maybe have a similar interaction.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Sarah, I
Drew, what are
agree
you
100%.
guys doing for training?
So, starting from the traction, we have 75 employees, and so that traction background, hiring and firing, rewarding off of our core values. We really focus on bringing people in that fit to that culture. We were blessed to have a fantastic support team that really cares about the customer, and I think that's what makes it successful. I'm a big book reader, and so the 4 agreements, it talks about the 4 things. One of the biggest things is don't take anything personal, right? And it's so hard because, as Sarah mentioned, you don't know what's happening, right? And so their sprinkler got hit or the sewage line got hit, for God forbid, and it's backing up into the house. And so what they're going through on their side of the phone, as long as our team can understand that they're there to be a advocate for that customer, and so they're taking that to their supervisor with the same intensity, trying to get that resolved for them, right? And so they have a goal, but not taking anything personal is one of the hardest things. I did dial-up support, and I can still remember. I can still remember that, from then it has never changed, right? The technology always frustrates some, and so they just don't understand it. And so you're there to be an advocate for that customer. But hiring and firing, rewarding off of those values, and then setting up training programs to allow their personal growth. But I think that not taking anything personal is the number one key you're looking for when someone's answering the phone, and making sure that they know that they're the advocate for that customer. That way they can listen, be empathetic, and understand what their main goal is, and then be able to communicate that, say, hey, I'm going to find that answer for you because we want to solve this together, right? And turn that anger into a solution at the end. So, but that is definitely a skill set. It is not something that, if you don't have the ability to put yourself in their shoes, customer support might not be your thing.
Yes.
You hire for the soft skills and you train for the hard skills. It's
Soft
just
skills.
one of those things. Can either of y'all think of a success story of a team member going above and beyond for one of your customers that you'd be willing to share?
I had a level 10 this morning with our install repair technician team, and they were at a customer site, wanted to cancel fiber, had a gigabit plan, had gigabit speeds every time that they ran a speed test, every time. But the customer still wanted to cancel because through their devices, they could not get the speeds. And so we hardwired his devices, still getting a gig, but he wanted it to be a gig when he tested without his wireless devices. So they stayed in the house and found that he had thousands of light bulbs, all of this wireless interference inside of his home, and they turned one thing off at a time until they were able to verify what device was causing the interference. Even though it wasn't our problem, we could prove that it was the speed directly into our device, directly into the router, but he wanted it that way. And so I shouted them out this morning, and they got a good review of it. Then another tech came over there, and they spent an extra hour just making sure that they could find what the device was that was causing the interference. And then the gentleman actually called him at 8 o'clock last night on the cell phone and said, thanks, but he was planning on leaving. But if they wouldn't have taken that to the next step, and if they would have treated it like another utility company, you're like, hey, you're getting electric to the wall, call an electrician on the inside. Yeah. And so I liked hearing that story today. So it's pretty cool.
Thank you for sharing that. Sarah?
We have several. One that pops into my head was actually about a year ago, we started building out an area up in the Mesa County, and around Christmas time, unfortunately, with any underground construction, utilities are tough to not hit. And when Drew said sewer, it made me think of this story. Our subcontractor accidentally hit someone's sewer line literally 3 days before Christmas, and it was backing up into their living room and ruined their entire Christmas tree, all their gifts that they had bought. but one of our construction managers took it upon himself to be out there on Christmas Eve, one, shopping for the family, and helping buy gifts with the subcontractor to replace things that were bought, and just kind of going above and beyond to repair that relationship. And that customer, as hard as that scenario happened to be for us as a company, we took a stand with that customer and made sure that their house was cleaned and repaired. And yes, it kind of hits the pocketbook on that respect, but that's what we want to be able to do, is show like we're not going to just come in and hit your sewer and then walk away and make it your problem. We took ownership of that with our subcontractor and teamed up and fixed it, got it repaired, and actually, I can go on, but put them up in an Airbnb for a little bit, and just to be able to give them a sense of like a place to be for the holidays.
Partnership.
Yeah, but then in turn, our employee was going above and beyond and shopping on Christmas Eve to help make sure that family still had Christmas. So yeah.
That's amazing. Mary had asked in our chat, in what ways do you train and engage your contractors to ensure they're focusing on the customer experience? I asked about staff, but she's asking, how do you extend that to your contractors? Do you talk about that when you're executing contracts with these subcontractors?
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Drew. Go ahead. Tag you're in.
It's super important because, they're an extension of you, right? And so we're talking about how we're a local company and we care about the customer. And so, we want to send out pre-construction notices. We want to vet our subcontractors. We want them to follow the same safety. We want them to take care of their yard just like we would take care of their yard. And so it is a challenge. And, we don't have the same, how do I say this nicely? Some of the subcontractors that worked out for us don't work for us anymore, right? And so we have to make sure we maintain the same standards that we would want to see. And, they don't have to follow our core values, but they have to understand what our core values are so that they understand what we're trying to work towards. And so we definitely have a good group today, but we should definitely try to hit pre-construction notices, knock on doors, do door hangers before we come in. I mean, they're mowing and maintaining those easements. They feel like that's the part of their property, and that's something that they're going to see every day. And so if you're not taking care of it, it would cause us retention issues in the future. So what Sara said about the backed up sewage, I bet you they told more than one person about that. And you didn't do that because you wanted them to go tell people, but just because you did the right thing, it would push. That story I'm sure didn't just end at that house, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, and actually, Drew, we do the exact same thing. That for that scenario, that subcontractor no longer works for us because we had multiple issues, unfortunately, happen with that particular subcontractor. But the subcontractor that helped us with the repair also stepped up when they didn't have to, but they did. They stepped up to help us, and so. Again, it goes back to what you said, Drew, just building that relationship and teaching them the core values of our company because they are an extension of us. And, not always is it perfect, but we do have to revisit sometimes with those subcontractors to just ensure that they're on board with what we want out of them. And it's exactly what Drew said. We do the same exact thing.
Do you guys find that you have certain customer segments that require more tailored support? And if you do, how do you deliver it when you've got some segments of your customer base that need a little bit of extra love?
We do. We have a certain level in our tech support. So we do have an after hours call service that helps us answer our calls after hours. And I think, they do a certain amount of work for us with those calls, but then we have a team that then we escalate those to. So like a tier 2, tier 3 kind of escalation. So I think sometimes when it comes to tech support, we definitely have that specialized group that kind of can take over that. I also, have mentioned earlier in the call that we have our our boots on the ground out in the field. So our construction managers, and we have staff that actually can go out and talk to customers in the field why there's paint on the ground or on their decorative rock, due to us being an underground utility and having to call 811 for utility locations, and just being able to have people like that tailored to be able to go out and talk to those people. We also, I have teammates that are kind of an extension of me, our customer engagement coordinators that we've hired over the last year and a half to be in the communities, to go to events in HOAs or with chambers or construction, go out with our construction managers and actually meet people out at events, to be able to explain who we are, what we're doing, and why we're doing it. So those are probably the top three, I would say, have more specialized.
How about you guys at 360, Drew?
We definitely
Do you
have
have
some
some?
tier one, tier two, and then our network operations team. But our enterprise accounts go directly to tier two techs and move up. And then our VoIP customers, they have a specialist that they run through. And we do have some after hours assistance, and we have someone on call that can assist, tier two after hours to make sure that they can get those answered. But definitely, there's definitely tailored solutions. Our tower owners and businesses, they get lumped. Our tower owners get lumped in with our enterprise accounts so that they can be taken care of in a faster, quicker way. And so we definitely want to take care of everybody with the same importance, but just depending on the knowledge base that they need. And
That
so
decision may
sometimes
be
that flow chart and who is going to be able to answer this to get the one call resolution to
different.
the quickest of its ability. So we try to tailor that to it.
Do either of y'all, and I actually don't know the answer to this question, do either of y'all upsell customer service, like as a recurring charge, that they get that one call resolution, or is it just your enterprise level customers have this specific need? This is kind of a random question, but I know that I've
No,
got a couple of customers that upsell a little charge for customer service.
we have a complete care that takes care of damage that's outside the scope of, if it's a 360 problem, 360 will take care of it. But if they run over the cable, dog chewed, roofers threw it away, painters ripped it off the wall, we have a complete care package, it covers moves and things like that they can add on to. It's an extended service plan, if you will, that will cover
And service
the
plan.
above and beyond outside of it. So
We do have what we call a white glove program, to where we can charge like a one-time fee to go out, and if we need to help somebody set up a printer. Normally, our standard
Mm,
operating procedure is to set up 3 Wi-Fi devices at the time of install, just helping that customer log in and make sure they're connected. But if we, after the fact, have somebody needing help with like a wireless printer or a printer in general, we can send somebody out. Or we're not a television provider, we do phones and internet, but sometimes people can't get their TV to connect to their Wi-Fi. So we actually have a white glove program that we can send back out a tech to do that. We do occasionally have to charge, but we have like a one-time fee for those charges if we have to go out and move a router. Sometimes it's case by case, because if initially the installer installed the router in a spot where it would be better fit to move it and it's within a certain time period of the install, we don't charge that customer. So it's kind of a case by case basis also. So
perfect. So, can you think of an example where excellent customer service has led to increased referrals or even new business for your organizations?
every day.
Every day.
Yeah. I think our referral program is a big deal for us. I know there was a question in the chat too about what platforms we're using for onboarding customers. We actually created our own, what we call Get Started. And so it's actually a platform for people to go out and plug their service address in and see if there's fiber to it or construction process. And within that platform, we've created opportunities for the person to say, how did you hear about us? And if they have a referral, then they can put their neighbor's name in, or maybe their business friend. And so we have that referral program. But our Get Started platform helps us with how did you hear about us, whether it was at an event or, social media ad or things like that. That's one of the things we use.
I think the referral is the key to success, right? And so it's, we talk about the experience and you talk about how a company makes you feel, right? And that's a funny way to look at things, but if we talk about this on our full employee meeting. You have your two coffee shops on the same street, right? One sells the same coffee as the other one, but you go into this one and Georgette's behind the counter, and Georgette, she's going to say hi to you and she's going to serve you your coffee. And it's how you felt in that experience that you got. And so if your neighbor says, hey, 360 provided a great service to me, that adds expectations to it, or they have a little bit more of an understanding when they come in that they're going to have a good experience as well. And so they set that tone. And so anytime that we can win through customer experience and set someone up to give us a call and say, hey, Georgette sent me over or Sara sent me over, they already have some understanding that they're going to get taken care of. And so I think it's a win no matter how you look at it.
I agree.
So what advice would you offer an ISP that's looking to turn customer service into a growth engine? Somebody who may not quite be there with getting those customer referrals in. What are some tried and true things that they can encourage their frontline customer service reps or their field technicians to embrace?
I think. Go ahead, Sara.
Go ahead.
First.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I think we hit a couple of them right off the bat, right? Clear communication with the customer. Their customer journey has to start with the installer. Obviously they heard about you somehow. The journey has to be customer experience all the way through, because if you have an installer that goes out and doesn't go above and beyond, then they're not going to set your support team up for success. They're not going to set your billing team up for success. And then you're going to drip campaign marketing to them the entire 72 months that they're a customer. You want them to have an experience all the way through, not just from the customer care team, but the contractors that came out that tore up their flower bed, that put it back, the pre-marketing, the sales agent, to the first person that they usually see is the installer going into their home. Did they, were they proper with taking, putting shoe covers on or taking their boots off if they were muddy? What was that experience all the way through? And then I think a key for us moving forward will be those NPS scores afterwards, and then tailoring responses to how did this customer feel about it? What did we not give them enough information, and adjusting? Another book I like is The Atomic Habits, right? And so we have our standard operating procedure, but we should never be done with it. Tomorrow, did we learn something new that we can adjust 1% to always be never complacent, right? Always learning to adjust. And not being. I don't know if you guys knew me, you would know my least favorite thing is this is the way we've always done it. And so everybody on my team, if anybody's listening, they'll know that I do not like this is the way we've always done it, because I think we can always improve. And so that would be my advice: is never stay complacent. What works today might not work tomorrow. We've seen the age of COVID come through where everybody needed internet at once, and now we're into an age where everybody has some sort of internet at their house. The boom isn't the same. So now you're not taking a customer that's never had internet. You're taking a customer from another provider that wasn't providing great customer experience. And so how do you stand aside from that, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to chime in on that last comment, because I think that's one thing that we really strive here at Clearnetworx to be different than the other guy. And again, our tagline's great internet experience, and it all starts with just that. The initial phone call to, or even them going to our website and seeing who we are and what we're about and where we're at, to the follow-up call after the install. And just still maintaining that relationship, or if they call in month to month to ask about their bill and not understanding it, or setting up their auto pay, it initially just starts with that first interaction and that constant just maintaining that relationship and just keeping it healthy. But as Drew said, one thing may not work for the next person. So you have to be kind of creative and cohesive in the same aspect to be able to, one day you could have a phone call where one aspect may work, and then the next phone call you pick up, it's not going to work because the person's angry or something. So you have to kind of be able to wear multiple hats and just be able to flip and try something different. I think the other thing for us too is transparency is huge for us. We want to be transparent with our customers, and so that also helps in that building relationship. Is we're ran by a local guy that grew up here in Montrose, Colorado.
Yeah.
So a lot of people know our owner, but then when we go into communities that he didn't grow up in, how can we best communicate that? And that again is finding ways to support. For instance, in Mesa County, we support the local high schools and, sponsor football games and get active in the schools and go out and do job fairs and things like that with the college. And so it's just being able to get out there and show, we're not just some company out here building service, but we're actually investing not only dollars into bringing a service, but into the community itself too. So it's huge.
Early on in my career, one of our customers said to me, he goes, look, these are the people that I sit in the pews with on Sunday morning. I sit in the stands with in the football games on Friday night. And when my days are done, I'm going to lay in that cemetery with them. And I got to get it right. And I don't care if you've got 500 subscribers or 5,000 subscribers or 50,000 subscribers. This is your community that you're serving. And it's such a beautiful thing to watch you guys out there, boots on the ground, taking care of your customers at this elevated level and staying connected to them. David asked, do you capture the customer reviews through all the various platforms and assign a CSAT score and roll those numbers to the individual, then the team, then the company level? Are y'all doing any amalgamation of the data that you're getting on customer satisfaction surveys?
That's where we want to be, and so we have a plan in place. And Q2 is that's going to be. But right now they're coming in Google, Facebook, and everything, and we share those directly to teams, and we track it. And 4.7 in our Durant office, 4.8 in our Texas office, and obviously it's awesome to see 1,500 reviews come in and have positive reviews there. But I think that's how you can judge what their experience was. They'll literally write in there, they came and they hooked everything up, and they made us feel like we have all the tools we need, right? And so you're like right there, like, okay, well, we're giving them the experience that they're looking for.
Same for us. We're working on trying to streamline that reporting. We do share a lot of the reviews and feedback, good and bad, through teams with our overall staff, and then evaluate ways we can improve on processes that are on the not so great ones. But we definitely try. In fact, I just had one this morning that I reached out to the customer because he left us a review, but he was really unsure of kind of some of the underground work and why there was still paint and things like that. So I actually just a simple phone call, and he was like, wow, thank you for even like taking the time to follow up with me. And so just that added service of that, just taking the time out to reach out to people is sometimes all you need. But again, it's we're still trying to streamline a lot of our reporting too.
Excellent. Can you think of a challenge that you overcame that transformed your customer experience strategy?
I have one I've been wanting to. So we are working on AI tied to our SOPs, tied to our listening of every phone call that comes in. And it's really cool what the future holds to be able to, like I said, we have a team of 16 that answers the phone, and we have a quality control person that let me look at my notes. I think we had 11,312 phone calls in February. Right. And so you're not going to QC every one of those. So what the AI tie into the experience, it listens to every call and then grades it based on the SOPs that you set, and then flags the accounts that either asked for a supervisor, wanted a credit, had an angry tone, and then that way your quality control can go look at the ones that they need to be paying attention
Focus.
to. And so we're testing this, and the calls were listening to our internal communications as well, from tech team to tech team, and the guys that were talking to each other got bad grades, which I thought was hilarious because they didn't greet friendly, they didn't end friendly, and so the AI recognized that they didn't use soft skills between the technicians because they knew each other, right? And so it was funny how it flagged that. But I think it'll be a game changer for us, not because AI is taking someone's job, but because we need to be able to focus our energy and be more efficient on where we're trying to focus, right? If we don't know, out of 11,312 calls, you can't stack enough QCs in there to be able to find all of that. But I think it's going to be a game changer to be able to hone in on our experience. If the same phone number called 4 times, it'll flag that, say, hey, they're very upset about their bill. Let's get someone from billing to reach out and say, hey, is it something we need to explain, or we need to waive a credit, whatever that is. And so I'm excited about where that's going to take us. And I know,
Well, and I love the fact that you're looking at your internal communications as well, because that speaks to your culture. And you have customers internally as well, and people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And if they're not treating each other with that level of care, it becomes a problem. You've got a cancer organizationally that can't be overcome. So fantastic job, really diving in both to your internal communications and external communications.
My favorite one, the AI said, Tech One needs to stop saying "What's up" when he answers the phone. I was like, that's perfect.
Drew, I may have to reach out to you. I may have to reach out to you after this call to talk to you about what program you're using for that, because I'm interested. Because that's one thing that I had really been a part of, listening up front to just how on the customer service agent side, the interaction of the phone call was going. But we don't record our calls yet. So being able to hear what the actual phone call sounds like too, just because you can most of the time make out what's happening just based on the one-sided conversation. But to be able to pick up on things like that, to focus in on that QC side of it, is super important from a customer experience standpoint. So
and to be able to tie those calls, I know we've got customers that are tying those calls directly to their account folio within Sonar, so that if they need to go back, as long as that phone number is tied to the account, they can do that. So that's been very, very interesting.
Hey, Drew, there's a couple questions about what AI software you're using in the chat.
So we actually hired developers on staff to do it because we had several softwares that wanted to charge per call, and we needed to have and maintain that data. And so with Inside Sonar, we wanted it to tie back. And so we have staff members that are using some of the AI platforms that are out there, pulling that into an API and tying it back. But it is coming out to, I know this is coming through a lot of different softwares, but we thought it'd be best for 360 to have it internal. But it's pretty neat what it can do. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
But I'll share my contact information at the end, or we can, Georgette, and we can have more conversations on that. So.
Perfect. Love it. You're still muted, Georgette. You're muted.
Because I was coughing. So I know that our time is drawing to a close, so I want to make sure that we call out the top takeaways from today's conversations. We talked about proactive communication, minimizing customer frustrations, that there are omni-channel solutions we're trying to work. You guys are trying to meet customers where they are, empowering your teams to resolve issues faster and boost customer loyalty, tailoring service tiers, increasing satisfaction without upsell fatigue, and just customer service that isn't just support, it's a growth driver. I really want to thank both of you guys for taking time out to share your time, talent, stories, information, and just to call out again, Drew is the COO at 360 Broadband, and Sara is the Customer Engagement Director at Clearnetworx. And it has absolutely been our pleasure to spend this time with you guys. I know that David is gonna bring us home and draw this to a close. Thanks, Liz. I appreciate the comment. Said that the meeting's been great. I think we got to most of the questions that were in the chat, and we appreciate your engagement there as well.
Absolutely. And I just want to extend my thanks to Georgette and Sonar, and of course to Drew and Sara as well. Thank you so much for taking time to share your insights and expertise with our members. We certainly appreciate it. And also thank you to all of our attendees today for taking time out of your day to attend and learn with us. We appreciate that. And we appreciate all of your participation with FBA, and really enjoy learning from you. Just as you know, we do have our next Fiber Connect regional workshop coming up here. It's going to be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on March 25th. So if you are in that area, we'd love to see you there. We had a great turnout at our Texas event recently, and we're looking for a repeat performance here in Philadelphia. These are nice, more intimate events. So we certainly find these very valuable and love to meet and chat with our members at these events. So if you have the time and you're in the area, please take some time to join us there. And with that, I just want to wrap up and invite you to, again, participate in other webinars. You can go out to our website and see what's coming up, both on these webinars and also Fiber for Breakfast, which happens every Wednesday morning. We just finished one off this morning featuring Gary Bolton, our CEO and president. And so those are always exciting 30-minute webinars. So if you have time on Wednesday mornings, we invite you to subscribe for those and participate. So thank you once again to our panelists, and thank you to everybody for attending. We hope to see you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye. Thank you.